production that they saw.
Yeah, and it's going to only get better from here. I mean, the sport grows every year. It's getting better and better. It's the time now. It's keep going, keep competing. Everybody needs to keep rocking it. So what else we got, Sandy? Anything else?
Obviously, just a little bit about wellness. Wellness is obviously our new division.
Yeah, talk about what everybody loves.
Yep, and wellness, obviously at the USA, wellness was our second biggest division for the women. Bikini obviously was the first, but then wellness overtook figure and women's physique. And part of that is just because the structure of wellness, I think, fits so many women. Women aren't born with wide shoulders and narrow hips. Most women are born with narrower shoulders, wider hips. It's for childbearing. It's the evolution of mankind. And so wellness is just going to fill a niche for a lot of women because, these are generalizations, but most women have an easier time putting muscle on in their lower body. And so even in bikini, because you always want balance, whether you're doing bikini, figure, women's physique, it's always at balance. So most women are always trying to add that little bit of balance to their, more so to their upper body, than their lower. And now wellness is going to provide that niche where, if your upper body isn't quite up to where your lower body development is, wellness is perfect for you.
Yeah, I love wellness. It's been one of my new favorite divisions to coach for. And I've been saying I think it's going to overtake bikini eventually. I really think it will. I mean, I knew it was going to be coming up second, as far as attendance eventually. I expect we're going to see that go through this year for sure because there are so many people, getting ready for wellness, thinking about wellness, wanting to do wellness. And I think it's a really great new division, where we're going to see this thing kind of shaping out right now. And as people start competing in it, we start to see more of the criteria. We start to learn more about what's actually on there, and obviously everybody can figure out the division rules and all that on npcnewsonline.com. But it's great to actually get out there and compete in it and, just see how you actually stack up. And a lot of people are on the line all the time saying about should they be doing bikini or should they be doing wellness? So what kind of advice might you have for somebody, regarding that?
Well, first, it goes right back to what we talked about. First of all, don't worry about whether you want to do bikini or wellness. Get your body in its best condition for you at that point. And then when you go to a regional show, you can compete in both bikini and wellness. Cross over. You'll see how you stack up, because it's a different look. Both of those divisions are so different, but once you see your photo with the other athletes, it'll give you an idea of where your structure is probably gonna, take you with. And real quick, somebody just said about talking about suit design with crystals. Okay. Yes. Real quick. The more crystals are not the better. Okay. Some crystals, absolutely. But you can actually get to the point, we're actually seeing girls that have so many rhinestones and crystals on their suits that it can actually reflect off the light and give like an aura around themselves. It could actually take away a little bit from your definition. So no, some crystals look amazing, but just because you can put some on, you don't need to put 1,000 of them on. Just a little bit. But getting back to wellness, I just think, like I said, it's going to be interesting. I think I always say to everybody, like, you always want to look at the Arnold, obviously not so much this year, but like how the end of the year with the Olympia, I always say you look at the Olympia athletes, the top 5 in every one of those divisions. That kind of gives you an idea of where the sport is headed. Like those athletes, whether you're bikini, classic, it tells you that they're probably like right at that top mark of how big you should get, how conditioned you should get. So you have an idea of where your structure should go as far as size and conditioning. And obviously in wellness, there was not wellness last year at the Olympia. It'll be this year at 2021. So again, even if you can't get there, I'm assuming they're going to live stream. You want to live stream the Pittsburgh Pro, because that is going to have wellness there. That will be the first Ifbb wellness, pro wellness this year. And it's going to be amazing because, again, I don't know, I'm just taking a guess here, but I have a feeling a lot of those athletes that got their pro card last year, both, international and from the US, a lot of those top athletes are going to show up at the Pittsburgh Pro. So it's going to be really I just have a feeling it's going to be super competitive, but it's going to be interesting to see which body, you know, out of those top women, which body ends up, you know, taking the prize home in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and I think this actually segues us into a good thing to say in general about any division is kind of what you were saying. You know, you look at the top competitors, and that's kind of the criteria and the standard, right? This is why I always tell athletes, I'm saying that's really what the judges are telling us by the way they've placed them at Olympia. And, you know, since we don't have Wellness Olympia yet, you know, these top pro shows, you can see almost the same kind of thing. And that criteria doesn't necessarily say, okay, you need to be that person to compete or do well. But that criteria does trickle down, you know, through all stages of, you know, true novice to open to whatever. The criteria that you guys are looking for at the top is the same criteria all across the board. I think a lot of people get in their head that, okay, that's for them. Where am I at? What do I need to be? You know, it's different. No, the way you guys are judging, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, is the criteria is the criteria. The quality just gets better the higher athletes go.
You know what, Ryan? You couldn't have been, absolutely. Because sometimes, and it still happens, we've been really working on it, so you don't see it as much now as you did like 10, 15 years ago. But lots of times I would have an athlete that come to me and say, you know, he did a regional show and he didn't do well, but he was told he's too good for the regional show. He needs to go to nationals. I'm saying this live on thing. That's the most stupidest remark I have ever heard in my entire life. If you're that good, you should be winning every regional show. I always tell judges when I do seminars, I tell judges, okay, if you're telling me a men's physique is too big, is he bigger than Brandon or Raymond? If he's not, then he's not too big. The same thing with bikini. I think sometimes, you know, you do get athletes that are athletes most of their life. They come from different sports, you know, and they graduate from college. And now the NPC, though, gives them a place to compete. Otherwise, that their competition time would be over. Well, they're already going to come in. You know, they're already going to come into the sport with a good amount of development. So, yeah, I could see them going. And we've had this, you know, at the Spectrum a couple times. You've had a true novice that comes into the sport, and they do true novice, open, and they win. I had this maybe 6-7 years ago at the Southern States. A teenager girl won the teenage, the novice, the open, and won the overall. And first thing I said to her mom when I met her, I said, where did your daughter get her lower body from? And she said, oh, well, she's been playing soccer since she's been 4 years old. You know what I mean? So there are, you know, athletes. I mean, we do attract a lot of athletes from other athletic, you know, from sports. Like I said, especially as athletes get older and that competition, because they're out of college or out of high school, you know what I mean? That ability to compete, that competitive, you know, is no longer there for them. And so the NPC, you know, and the Ifbb provides that for a lot of athletes, you know, the competition part for a lot of athletes. But if you're that good, you should go in and win your first, you know what I mean, your show, and then move on there, not be penalized because we're looking for a different standard. We're not. We're looking for the same thing across the board.
Yeah, and that's huge. I think it's so important to say that. And, you know, that is funny that you bring up the athletes, you know, from other backgrounds coming into the sport, because I'm seeing that a lot with wellness. Obviously, I'm coaching a lot of wellness athletes right now, trying to get everybody ready for this season. But a lot of the ones that are already, you know, kind of, you could say, have a better starting point are people that were doing track and field, or they've been lifting weights forever. And, you know, it's these women with these just jacked lower bodies already by nature. And then it's like, okay, well, this is really good, because a lot of them, you know, trying to fit to bikini, before you'd have to like not lift legs for a year. Like you'd have to not go to the gym and do any legs. You do some cardio, if anything, to try to burn the muscle off your legs, because you just simply couldn't compete. So wellness is opening a lot of doors for, you know, the women's divisions. And I think it's going to be a huge, huge thing. And I'm really excited to see how, you know, it's shaping out. Obviously last year we got a couple glimpses into how things are moving, but I think always, you know, it takes a few years, in my opinion, for to really see how this division actually shapes out, because as right now, as wellness is here and it's the new exciting thing, there's people that they may have wrote competing off for a while because they couldn't get to, bikini development, that lower, that lesser development for the lower body, in other words. They wrote it off, and now they're going to come out, and we're going to see all types of different physiques and pros turning at all the nationals this year, and all these things that are going to just really bring a whole new perspective to this division, which is very exciting, and also why you should compete in it, right? You should get out and help shape this division.
You know what? We're going to end up, I know I'm going to end up losing our time here, but somebody just wrote in and said about Raymond or Brandon, when you see them in person, they don't look near, they look so much bigger on stage. You couldn't be more, that's more true than anything, because I just actually did a seminar, and not unbeknownst to me, I always, when I use athletes, photos on my seminar, I always cut everybody's head off. But I was showing about an athlete from wellness, and she actually happened to be in the audience, and she started to laugh. Yeah, we started to talk, and I knew it was her, but I'm like, oh my God, you're women on wellness. She looks so big on stage, and I'm looking at her going, you're the tiniest little thing. Because it does. But this, even for me, who have been obviously judging athletes for 40 years, it takes you by surprise sometimes. And, the person that wrote that in is absolutely right. The athletes look so much bigger on stage. And that's the only reason why I say, when you're looking at the gallery, you have to be able to know, to know that in time. And yes, Pittsburgh is very much going to be missing Dino. Was somebody that was big in Pittsburgh, and a lot of, did a lot for the sport and stuff. And he had just passed away recently. But yeah, the stage does, and the photos does make everybody look a lot bigger and harder. So you do have to be able to, to put that in perspective in your mind.
Yep, absolutely. I'm, very excited for wellness. Obviously, I've thought for a while that you guys need that, and it's great. It's here now. Like it was just a while ago that it was announced, and we're already,
I know.
2 years since it was announced.
Yeah.